Hello and welcome to my latest coding project, which is the PowerShell extension for the dellemc openstack data protection extension. The openstack data protection extension is a REST API that allows us to back up OpenStack instances servers using the avamar server grid. My PowerShell extension is a communication interface between the REST API for the OpenStack DPE and PowerShell for ease of use. First of all, let's have a look at my OpenStack environment. I connect to my OpenStack environment with my admin user and my current password. And here I will show you the current environment that I'm running in. First of all, I have my avamar project. The avamar project is hosting two instances servers, which first is the avamar API server and the avamar proxy server. The avamar API server is responsible for bridging the communication to the REST API. The avamar proxy server is essentially running the backups from the instance volumes that we are snapping or cloning using the cinder API, mounting them to the proxy host, and then transferring the data over to the avamar grid. A third component is running on our controller node, which is called the avamar DPE proxy service, and the DPE proxy service is responsible for bridging the communication between the avamar API and the Keystone API. So now let's have a look at my PowerShell modules. To load the PowerShell modules, I open up a PowerShell. In this case, it's my lab builder PowerShell, which is also responsible for managing my current environment. You see here I have 3 Ubuntu servers. Those make up my OpenStack environment. I have a domain controller and I have my avamar node currently up and running in this environment. To load the PowerShell modules for the OpenStack DPE shell, I provide a small initialization script, a small profile, which similar to the OpenStack RC files, sets some default projects and some administrators and reads some tokens. So let's have a look at the profile.ps1. More see it's under GitHub in my environment, GitHub OS DPE shell profile.ps1, and you see here I'm setting some globals for like the OpenStack usernames, the MC usernames for the avamar administration, the IP address of my avamar systems, the IP address of my DPE API, the names of my projects, so the admin project, the provider project, and my production project, as well as reading out the tokens later on and reading out a project, which is my default project for all communications that I'm going to back up. So to load the modules, I just issue profile.ps1 because it does it automatically for me. You see, I'm reading the tokens here and I'm getting the ID from my production project that I'm going to back up later on. So doing a get command minus module osdpe shell will show me all the commands I currently have integrated into this environment. There are some DPE commands talking to the DPE API, and there are some openstack commands talking to the OpenStack API for just getting the first time projects and servers from OpenStack. The OpenStack, the avamar API also has the Swagger UI. The Swagger UI allows us for issuing the API commands directly from a web interface for an automated documentation and for provider syntaxes that I want to use. For instance, if I want to register an instance of a project, I can see here the required parameters. There's some modeling that explains me which parameters are required and which are optional. I've used this to create my PowerShell interface, so everything is modeled around this API. So first of all, we need to register a DPE protection provider. I've already registered my avamar system for some tests, so I can do a get DPE protection providers, DPE protection providers. That will show me my protection provider. For every command, I also have a minus verbose that tells me what command I'm issuing, what's the API, and eventually, if there's a JSON request that I'm issuing, how does the JSON body look like? Yeah, that's so far for the DP protection provider. It is already registered. It has a link to my proxy system, and this is my AVE node 1 that I currently have registered. Yeah, my happy avamar server, you can see it up here. It's up and running. It has done some backups before, and it has currently nothing to do, and it's waiting for some commands. To get a list of openstack servers, I can issue the command get OS servers. That will go out and issue the OpenStack servers by using the default project, the default production project. Otherwise, I could specify a project ID, but currently I'm using my integrated default project ID. If I issue that, I see all the servers-instances that are currently available in that project that we could use for backup. If we do a get DPE project instances, this will show me all the project instances I have registered for backup. I also can do a get DPE instance backups, and this will show me all the backups I've already issued against those instances. Will take a while, and here you see all the backups I've currently on my avamar systems for those instances. I can also get DPE jobs, instance backups, and here I would have to provide the backup ID of that instance. The other thing I could do is I get DPE tasks. It will show me detail of a current task that's running, and I could show all the DPE project tasks that will show me the running tasks for a current project and the pending tasks for a project. I could also have a look at the jobs project jobs that were issued to OpenStack and to the avamar API. That takes a while, and that will show me all the history jobs that have been done, have been issued by the project administrator to avamar. You can see here a list of ad hoc backups. There's also some restores that were issued to the environment. So to start a backup, I could simply take all my project instances and do a start DPE backups. The system will now query for all the instances and start the backup for those instances. And you see here it starts with the start time and with the progress. Those backups are currently sent as a work item request to my avamar server. I can now go out and, as we have seen earlier, get DPE project tasks. And now you see here we have 3 running tasks currently in our environment. As you can see from our avamar server, 1 is currently running and 2 are in a pending state. We can get the state also by pipelining the tasks, the project tasks into DPE tasks. The get DPE tasks will give me details for a given task. So normally I would have to provide the ID of the task to it, or I can use pipelining for it. That's the ease of PowerShell using that here. And we can see the tasks that are running, start time, queue time. Open up this a little bit more. And you can see the progress here in the back. So 1 backup is already finished. The second one is in the start of being processed. We can verify the whole communication also from our systems. So if I connect to my controller node, which is my Ubuntu node 3, go into my GitHub shell. This is just for my standard environment. Um, I can connect to the avamar API system. And now I'm on my avamar API instance. And from here I can do a tel-f/var log messages, and I'm setting everything to verbose. So the communication that is going to the avamar API is sent to the message log. If I duplicate that session and I go to the proxy, which sends the backups to the avamar system, I can do a tel-f / user local avamar client aviation.log. You can see all the agents like the sleeping commands, processing the sessions and all that stuff. Those are logged into the avamar session log. However, you can see there are progress logs for the individual items, and those are listed under /var under the var directory of avamar. So if I do als, sorry for that, big fingers tonight, you can see all the progress details of the backups that are currently running or that were run. So currently there's a last backup running. You can see the state here of my backup, and we could also verify this from PowerShell. At this place, I also would like to mention that we are using Scale.io on the backend currently in my environment. So if I start the Scale.io user interface, it will take a few seconds. And I connect to one of my nodes. We will see from the front end that we create snapshot volumes to back up the environment. So for every instance that is up and running, we create a snapshot. We map that snapshot to the proxy node, and from the proxy node, we are transferring the data over to the avamar system.